أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة. O Lord, let not our hearts deviate now after that you've provided us guidance, and have mercy on us. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. All right, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Happy Sunday. So we're going to proceed with the seventh ray on page 147, the supreme sign. Again, the seventh ray on page 147, the supreme sign. So pretty much we've been traveling around in our human journey. Pretty much the author is leading us into our experiences in the universe by voyaging through different realms. We can relate it to our stages in our existence and what sort of conclusions we make with all of our experiences. So we've explored the galaxies, we've explored SeaWorld, we've explored animal kingdom, vegetable kingdom, and now
done some hiking in the mountains.
We're coming to the human side, and yes, we also did some hiking in the mountains. And with that, the traveler now wants to be emotionally convinced within himself, herself, in terms of the truth that the revelation proclaims. In other words, anything that I communicate with, definitely the universe speaks to me in such a way that it points to its maker. And from the universe, now I bring the case to my human side, my human feelings and expectations, which also yearns to be spoken to in a more intimate one-on-one way. And so the author sort of helped us establish these truths as in the form of fruits, where definitely there is some sort of, he says, divine condescension, which is that it is a requirement that the creator of the universe must speak to me. And so how is that happening? It's happening by him introducing himself to my human side. So I feel more convinced in my existence and how my existence point to a one that's taking care of me throughout this journey. And that's pretty much brief summary of what was shared, but I'll open up the floor for anyone to share their takeaways as well from last week's discussion, what they took away, or anything that you all have been reflecting over or pondering on. So it can be helpful for all of us to make our existence a real meaningful existence here. So let's scan the room. Okay. So it means that we are ready to jump on the fourth point. Okay. The fourth, the attribute of speech, an essential concomitant and luminous manifestation of both knowledge and life, will necessarily be found in a comprehensive and eternal form in the being whose knowledge is comprehensive and whose life is eternal. Again, the attribute of speech, an essential concomitant and luminous manifestation of both knowledge and life, will necessarily be found in a comprehensive and eternal form in the being whose knowledge is comprehensive and whose life is eternal. Interesting truth here. Let me just see if anyone wants to share their immediate takeaway from this fourth truth that the author is sharing. Feel free to type it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. Any thought or point that comes to you will be helpful. Okay. So I think, again, at any point, at any time, just raise your hand. But in terms of when I conclude, definitely this creator of the universe, which I conclude as to be my source of existence, must speak in terms of it must have a quality of speech. Otherwise, how else will I comprehend it? Creation out there does not speak to me in a verbal form. And yet I'm in need of a verbal speech, like a human language, to converse with me, to pretty much, I'll say, not only answer the needs of my spirit, but more so make me realize and also make me feel comfort and relax in my existence. So the attribute of speech, as the author is saying, is an essential concomitant and luminous manifestation of both knowledge and life. So I mean, if there is knowledge about something, then there's some kind of speech and communication happening, and will necessarily be found in a comprehensive and eternal form in the being whose knowledge is comprehensive and whose life is eternal. So if I conclude someone or a source of existence to be an eternal source of pleasure or eternal source of knowledge, then such a one, or that knowledge must transcend the knowledge that I have access to in this realm of existence. And so with this, I can more so conclude, hey, this eternal knowledgeable one must be an eternal source of life. Just some very breadcrumbs being put on the table. So let's see if you guys can help me out here and sort of let's make a little meal out of this, inshallah. Anyone? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So the section that we are reading from, I'm just repeating kind of in my own words what I understood from what you said. So this is, now the author has traveled through the universe, and now he's wondering that whoever's in charge, whoever he concluded that everything seems to be coming from this divine source, divine unity, has been his point of top concern and realization, that everything has come, is kind of coming to show the signs are there that show that all these things are talking and bringing me news of the one who is in charge. But the thing is, I need to also hear from the source as well. Whoever is communicating with me through the universe must also speak to me, because I see that everything is communicating, but I need the direct communication also, which is the need for the revelation and inspiration as well. And this need for the revelations and inspiration, revelations, he says, is confirmed also by some of the realms he went to, with the notion of prophethood, that he must employ exemplars and envoys to propagate the message that he wants to convey. So they also confirm that yes, that the one who is running the universe, in charge of the universe, also speaks via revelation. So the revelation basically has certain principles for me to understand, and that's what he calls these truths, that whoever is the owner of this universe must be able to converse with me, or must speak to me with my human side, my soul, my senses must be able to communicate with him. So there are certain principles that are necessary for this speech coming from the absolute source, because the absolute is absolute. So one thing is that it must come down to my level, which is, as you said, the divine condescension, absolute to the created form being, in terms of communication with the ones that can understand, conscious beings that can make sense and conclude that this speech, whatever I'm seeing, whatever I'm understanding, is coming from the absolute source. And the second, I think, was about the make itself known through the words. Like the universe also it speaks, but I need also his words to go and confirm go back to the speech that, yeah, he is the one who is setting up all the stage, all these qualities that I observe. So there must be a few ways that I should be able to confirm that, hey, whatever this universe is saying, also the prophets are saying the same thing, and then the speech also must also confirm the same kind of message. Third is, it's a function of it being to respond in words. So I have questions, human beings, as I'm wondering, so there must be some, I'm unable to speak as well, and I'm able to express a few things within me, within my own way, just like the birds are able to express with their own way, the plants have their own language of expression. So I have questions, I need that communication so I can speak as well to this being. And the fourth, as you explained, about the attribute of speech, which is an essential. So whoever has made the universe shows that there's knowledge and is ever living. Because in my journey, I've concluded that, wow, there's activity going on in the universe, even with the hiking in the mountain, or, swimming in, maybe the river, and all those different places that I've gone through in my journey, looking at the flowers, the plants. So it shows me the signs of somebody knows whoever's arranging all this, whoever's making this the way it is, in such a wonderful way, with harmony. Things know as if they know each other. They talk and work together in such a way. There's mutual cooperation that goes on, as if the soil knows what to do with the seed, and the water knows, and the atmosphere and the sunlight kind of knows how to how to engage and work along all together. So there must be, this source must also have this quality of speaking, because as a human being, I am given, according to my capacity, the quality to communicate with other things, other beings, other realms in creation. But of course, according to my understanding, that there must be an absolute source who must possess absolute knowledge, absolute ever living one, must have a speech that is not of my nature, but must be absolute in nature as well. So yeah, so that's what I understood from the eternal form in the being whose knowledge, as long, if the knowledge is comprehensive, life is eternal, then the speech also must be in the same way. So even though it is condescension according to my level of understanding, but I still cannot claim I know what his absolute speech is. I can only conclude to my level, to my capacity, my understanding, because it is coming to my level, to my individual level of understanding. So just to say whatever you said in some other words. Thank you for
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair, mashallah. This was a very nice, comprehensive take on the subject. Inshallah, nice warm up to start, and some detailed points were made, and I think we have to keep emphasizing on it, so we can be more comfortable with what is this absolute speech that claims to have absolute knowledge mean for me. And I'm going to highlight your points also about that I cannot claim that I know the absolute speech, or I've exhausted the meaning of the absolute speech. Not at all. It just condescend to my level, and with it, what I can do is be convinced within my heart, feeling emotions, that this eternal one that we conclude must be an all knowledgeable one and an absolute one whose life is eternal. I know more was said, but alhamdulillah, these points caught my attention. Let's see if there's anyone else who would like to share anything that's coming to them. Okay. Or if you have any questions about this, anything, feel free to chime in, raise your hand, put it on the chat. If not, then
continue.
Yeah, we can move on to the fifth point. The fifth. It is a consequence of divinity that the being who endows men with impotence and desire it is a consequence of divinity that the being who endows men with impotence and desire, poverty and need, anxiety for the future, love and worship, should communicate his own existence by way of his speech to his most loved and lovable, to his most loved and lovable, his most anxious and needy creatures who are most desirous of finding their Lord and Master. The evidences for the existence in unity of the necessary existent offered in unanimity by universal and heavenly revelations. The evidences for the existence in unity of the necessary existent offered in unanimity by universal and heavenly revelations, which contain the truths of divine descent, dominical self-proclamation, compassionate response, divine conversation, and eternal self-communication. Eternal self-communication constitute a proof more powerful than the testimony for the existence of the sun brought by the rays of sunlight. Our traveler understood this, then looked in the direction of inspiration and saw that veracious inspiration indeed resembles revelation in some respects and is a mode of dominical speech. There are, however, two differences. I'll pause here.
Thank you.
And this first paragraph here on page 148. It's interesting that speech, or this absolute eternal one, should communicate his own existence to his loved and lovable and his most anxious and needy creatures who are most desirous of finding their Lord and Master. Let's see it. This sounds so good and beautiful. We all want to be loved. We all are super needy, anxious for the future. I mean, not only in this world, but existentially speaking. So, what's the deal here? What's being communicated by the author here? If anyone cares to share their takeaway here, that it's interesting though, that I don't know, the expression, the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing going on. So the more you recognize this need and you have this desire of connecting with the source of your existence, then
the more benefit
you get, you get this, like the water comes in or aid comes in, assistance is along the way, answer coming through, right? But let's see.
So there's a reason for the way the universe is set up. For example, the way human beings' situation is, the way I'm created. I mean, I'm a needy person. Just like everything else in the universe is very needy. Needy of my existence. I mean, I've been given existence. I'm being, entertained with different manifestations of qualities that I enjoy, and then there are things that I like, and somebody is treating me in a particular way. Right? So this whole section, like this part, the fifth, puts like it is a consequence of divinity, that the being, so I'm made, the being who endows men. So we are given with this, we are made with impotence. We have desires, we are given desires. We're made to be on the receiving end, and we're always worried about what will happen tomorrow. We don't know. So whoever has made us that way should definitely communicate with us, because we are made with the questions as well. We are made with the questions too. We seek answers to those questions in our existence. So whoever is our maker must communicate and tell us about that. He is the one who will, should reassure me that don't worry about it, I'm taking care of you. And the ones who are really seeking him, so if I say I'm pretty much self-sufficient, I can do whatever I want in this universe, then I'll not be seeking those things. But if I understand my true nature, my reality, what I am, then I will seek, his communication, his speech.
This is a good point, mashallah.
And the next paragraph is, I think, a summary of all those 5 points. He summarized it in a paragraph, that all these points, whatever as a traveler is trying to understand the unseen world of the unseen, right? He's knocking at the door of the world of the unseen. Hello, you made me. Whoever has made me, please answer my call to my questions. Tell me about, what can I get from your speech or communication? You need to tell me. You need to communicate. Right. So.
That's a good point. Like just realizing that, hey, you must communicate with me with all the needs that I have, or I think the author laid it out. Alhamdulillah, thank you for sharing this. Anxiety for the future, the more I feel my neediness, the more I recognize the need within me that you must provide me with the answer. And divine and eternal self-community. This is interesting. Dominical self-proclamation. Yeah, I think these are like the answers to a needy spirit, where the evidence is for the existence of the necessary existent, offered in unanimity by universal and heavenly revelations, which contain the truths of divine descent. Okay, dominical self-proclamation, as in what does this revelation claims to be? It's a compassionate response. It's a speech coming down at my level. It's claiming to be an absolute speech by definition. But at this point, the traveler realizes that all this, that it's not a claim for the traveler, because he's able to make sense of or utilize these evidences to seek divine inspiration and revelation and eternal self-communication. I'm not sure about this last piece, but
no, it's a good question. Eternal
self. What is that?
Eternal self-communication. I'm wondering the same thing.
Oh, yay! I'm on the same page.
I think that's part of the fifth one. The fifth point, truth. Yeah. So if you look at the first one, the truth of divine descent, the first point he made, dominical self-proclamation, that he needs to speak and announce himself. Hey, I'm the one who's making all this. Tell me whatever I observe in the universe. He proclaims it, puts a stamp on each and every one. Self-proclamation and compassionate response. The ones who are, he must tell me, not to scare me away, that I would never go in. He must be in a kind way, telling me about that he must answer my human questions in a friendly kind way. Don't worry, not to worry. Divine conversation and eternal self-communication. So what was the fourth one?
So fourth one.
Divine conversation. So he must speak, basically. The one who is absolute. And then his speech must also be in an absolute form.
Okay.
And that's what eternal self-communication is, continuous, ever-living, so it must continuously proclaim and communicate with me.
So
I will put it on the...
I have a question for you though. Yeah. So by now the traveler has recognized all this. So he's saying the evidence is like in terms of through his journey and like for all these truths that he's laid out, he knows that this divine source is a compassionate response, must be a divine descent. So he's confirmed it within his human side.
I would say that's also his expectation.
Oh.
That he understands, but now he has a need that when I knock at the door of the world of the unseen, or the absolute one. I mean, he must talk to me in a way that I, as a human being, as a created being, I can understand.
But that's great, though, if it's an expectation and he knows that knock, if I should.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk this in the group.
Okay,
I'm sure a lot of people.
Yes, definitely.
Comments.
Yes, we see Farah. Farah, go ahead, please. Thank you for being patient.
No, thank you for the discussion and the very comprehensive moderation. The point that I was thinking of, and again, it acts more in sort of summary or reiteration, but it's interesting also to think about not that man is a needy creature, not so in a dimension to this neediness in regards to divine speech is also the fact that man also needs to ask, the fact that it's not just that, he has needs that need to be fulfilled, but one of those essential needs appears also to be the need to sort of proclaim or ask the one who can fulfill these needs. And because in my head, I was thinking about like, okay, you have a need, and then because of that, you ask, rather than, oh, asking is also a need. So to myself, I thought that was a small but interesting distinction to make. And the fact that I think I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I'm losing my train of thought. I guess in a way we can also sort of understand this as, this point being that this action or this decision, you could say, to ask is also so essential to the human being's nature and sense of sort of, sense of self-identity, in the fact that that is the only thing that he seems to be capable, or you could say, perhaps capable, like truly capable of doing, which is to ask. There's nothing else that appears that he can do about anything within his existence. I think this is a point that has been discussed many times in this class, is the fact that when we, let's say, even walk, is in essence a prayer or an asking the Creator to manifest my will to, let's say, lift up my foot and put it forward, and that being fulfilled by the Creator. So, so this connection of the fact that asking is a need, and that being tied to our sense of, you could say, identity, but also a sense of being, in order to really be secure about what we are doing in this life, is also to get to know, who we are as human beings, and that does not come about unless we exercise our free will, which is essentially connected to asking more than anything else, as I'm thinking. But I'd be open to hearing if there is anything else that we attach the purpose of our free will to, other than the need to ask.
Mashallah, for a beautiful point that you brought up in terms of this need of asking. I think it expands more our comprehensions about ourselves as well. That yes, I recognize I'm a needy individual, but I also have this need to ask, and that's all I do, nothing else. In terms of, I think that it just is, all of this falls under the neediness umbrella, and that was also a good point to bring in how really our day-to-day go on in terms of our usage of free will. So just an act like walking, speaking, anything, it's just again a need. We're asking for the result to be created. And that very good point. And so now you wanted to expand further on how does the free will takes place with the neediness part. I'm not sure if I caught your question. If you don't mind, can you please rephrase that piece again?
Of
Thanks.
course. I guess the claim being that, is there any purpose to the free will, or any sort of, you could say, function, or is there any function of the free will other than asking? To me, it seems like the essence or the function or the only reason for that, or function or capability of the free will is to ask and nothing else. But as we've sort of critiqued so much in this sort of discussion, is that whereas our current mode of life and being, or sort of predominant, you could say, ideas may attach the capability or sort of power of free will to more than that. If we can to more than perhaps asking, to perhaps creating, or actually I think creating a decision or the result or anything like that. The statement that I'm trying to test is, is there anything other than asking that the idea of free will can accomplish or is meant to do or not? I hope it's a little clear. I might have even confused further.
Alhamdulillah, that's clear, Farah. Thank you so much for reiterating that again. So I'm going to pose this question to everybody in the group. Is there any purpose of our free will other than asking? What do you all think? It's a very interesting question. Again, is there any purpose that you think is tied to free will other than asking? Feel free to share this out. It'd be great to hear what everybody thinks on the chat. Thank you. H. Susan, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I think the existence of free will, more than anything, points out to the existence of a will. So I think there is a purpose other than just asking. We have this free will, we are given this free will, and by recognizing its existence and by recognizing what it is, we come to have an understanding about what is willpower, or what is will. That's what came to my mind.
Mashallah, thank you. That was clear to me, at least. So our free will more so also points to a conscious will behind its existence. Don't know if anyone else wants to chime in or add anything to this.
Free will is a choice, right? So basically, one can choose one way or the other way. One can choose to seek guidance, one can choose not to seek guidance. One can choose to acknowledge, one can choose not to acknowledge, which is why it's called free. It's totally left to the individual, what you need, what as a responsibility. That is the sole thing that human beings need to be very careful about. What choices, what attributions are being made by the by the humans.
Thank you. Another great pointer. Thank you so much for sharing this. And we see Brother Ali, your hand is up. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is an interesting subject, actually, bringing into onto the table. The free will, yes, by its own nature, it is real nature. It only asks. Yeah, but this aspect of Farah brought out, I think, only asks what he needs. But this aspect is related to the reality of being able to create something or not. This is, if you like, at the existential level, yes, it can only ask what it needs at the existential level, but not at the existential level. In its own existence, if you like, it is given the opportunity to choose what to ask. So if we miss this point to choose what to ask, then human responsibility disappears. This stage of process of asking, the two stages of process of asking should not be ignored. First, in its own nature, it has the power to choose. It is given because free will in its essence is to choose. When it chooses to ask this or that, doesn't matter now. After asking whatever it decides to choose, it only realizes itself in the form of asking. Even the owner of the free will, the user of the free will, may not accept the fact that he is only asking. He may think, the owner, user of the free will, he may think that he is creating. No matter the reality, he is only asking. That is why free will can be employed only to ask, but in its own nature, there is a possibility or the ability to choose between two or three options. So two stages must be taken into consideration. One is the nature of free will. The other one is as far as being able to create or not. Whatever the free will asks. I think it is clear in my mind. If I understood, I hope you all understood it, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, crystal clear. So I'm just going to repeat your points. So it seems that the free will in its own nature, has the power to choose. Okay, so we're making choices. And the second aspect is in terms of who's creating the result. That's the question in terms of
The choice you make.
the choice you make. I'm not creating the result, I'm just choosing. So that was great. Let's see if anyone has any addition or any follow-ups or further questions. So feel free to participate. If not, then let's move on to
Revelation inspirations.
revelation and inspirations. Exactly. So our traveler understood this, then looked in the direction of inspiration and saw that voracious inspiration indeed resembles revelation in some respects and is a mode of dominical speech. Hey, what do you understand from voracious inspiration? Is it too early to ask, or should we?
Oh, you can ask, yeah.
Or should we first say
Sure.
what the author is saying? I'm just wondering. Hey, you guys on the chat, what do you understand from voracious inspiration? Why mentioning? Where is it coming from?
Well, maybe I think it does explain it.
No. Okay, Brother Ali, go ahead, please.
Now, let me put forward what I understood with voracious inspiration. I understand that this voracious inspiration is a comparison between whisperings of satanic whisperings, as the Quran describes. Now, it means satanic inspirations are, if you like, driven from human choice, which gives the color of existence or appearance of existence to something which does not exist in reality. Because human free will has two options. One option always represents the truth. The other option always represents the opposite of truth. But it is a very, very fine point at every stage, because we make thousands of choices in 1 minute. So where is it? It is difficult to understand, but we have to talk about this matter in terms of principle. Principle means either we choose the reality or opposite. Now, opposite of reality, which doesn't exist, but we assume it exists, but it is wrong. It doesn't have any representative in the real created world. Now, if I choose the wrong side, for example, there is no God, but there is nature. I said there is nature. And afterwards, while I am thinking about how the things work in the universe, I examine something. Very simple example. Let's say I see a cat. As soon as there was a scratch of noise of a scratch on something, maybe mouse or something, suddenly the cat turns to it and pays attention to it. If it moves, it is attracted by it. That's why when you play with the cat, what you do something like this. And I don't know. Do you hear me? I don't know. No. And cat will come. But if you, for example, let a string move, it wants to catch it. And then he says, that is instinct of the cat. Is it inspiration? Not in this sense. Why? because there is no instinct apart from the real existence of the cat. It is just satanic, false inspiration. I think that's what I understood from this voracious inspiration. Yeah, voracious inspiration, of course, depends on our attitude, on our interpretation of the events and the creation in the world, whether it is voracious or not, depending on man's reality, the one who is practicing his free will. But by definition, there are two kinds of inspiration. This text is telling me, look, Ali, be careful. There are two kinds of inspiration. One of them is based on just false whisperings of Satan. Satan represents the non-existence anyway. So by definition, which is not true. I mean, it represents that which is not true, not which is that which has no reality. That is satanic. So if you do this, that will be a not inspiration, but it will be a whisperings of Satan, satanic whisperings. But by definition, there is a voracious inspiration as well. While you are thinking of the reality of this universe, you come to a conclusion that since universe exists, there must be a cause of existence for the universe. Let me investigate it. This is, of course, in secular science is called the process of reasoning by mind. But mind is given the quality to make the process, but if the inspiration was not possible, what material, what data mind is going to use? So inspiration is always taking place in the universe as far as human beings are concerned, but as far as the reality of the creatures out there, inspirations, for example, the meaning of the universe, in fact, the inspiration, if you like, revealed to the angelic side of the creation. So universe is full of inspiration. As far as the human being and the data he has, the material he is given, he is provided, is also another kind of speech of the creator to a speaking, rational, rationally thinking, intellectual human beings. Of course, not the body, but spirit. The soul of the human being receives this inspiration, but we should never forget, we may close the door to the inspiration by making a choice that I am going to choose to listen to the satanic inspirations. That's why we always claim in this discussion group, among this discussion group, saying that whatever the idea which is based on non-existent elements such as instinct, natural laws, nature, accident, what else? By itself, any attributing eternity to any continuously changing transient matter. This kind of terminologies has no reality in existence. No one can prove it. No one can demonstrate it. But of course, secularist mind or secularist will keeps basing their arguments on these non-existent concepts. These non-existence concepts has no reality, so whatever the idea is based on these non-existent concepts are called satanic whisperings. I hope it is clear. If not, it is an important point. You can talk about it, concentrate on it, contemplate on this, reflect on this matter. Of course, I would like to hear you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ali. That was comprehensive, and definitely it does require a little thorough contemplation. But briefly, what I took away was inspiration is always happening in the universe. So the universe is always conveying meaning to me. And so there is a truthful meaning, as in the one that points to its source of existence. And other than that, it's a falsehood, but I am in need of that as well. Otherwise, how will I utilize my free will? So, and the whole falsehood can further be expanded upon all the ideas that I'm exposed to in my upbringing, schooling, social interaction, civilization, that oh, this is just coming from the matter, or oh, these are your instincts. You're craving for dark chocolate. Oh, it's a result of your instinct or something like that, or it's natural. It's nature is causing your little meow cat to cuddle up. I don't know, but on your sofa, whatever. Or so these kind of ideas that have no base in terms of pointing to the reality of existence would be deemed as satanic whisperings. And that is really non-existence because it has no reality. And that was briefly my takeaway.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I understood also. But I wanted to ask the example, Brother, the use about the cat. I didn't understand what that was.
Oh, so that was, from what I understand, but let's see what others maybe took something else from it. I think it was about we say cat scratching or doing something. It's an inspiration.
They call it an instinct.
Yeah, instinct. Yeah,
but it's not an instinct.
No, but the define instinct then, how do you?
That's just a name.
Yeah.
But so is it an inspiration or it's not?
It is an inspiration, I would say. But so that's the question. Good question, though. Yeah, let's clarify this, like Brother Ali said.
I thought Brother Ali
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree, Asim and you. This is in fact an inspiration in the existence of the cat by its creator. But people say it is instinct. It means it is in the nature of the cat which developed by itself. It doesn't mean, it means it after infers or hints that it is not a conscious choice by the one who gave existence to the cat. That means denial of the creator's function, if you like, creator's act of creating in the existence of cat. But the instinct itself cannot be demonstrable, and not like, for example, excuse me, I'm a bit extending the subject. When I read the book, I see the meaning, I experience the meaning. So can you demonstrate the meaning? My feelings really confirms it, communicates with it, because meaning must have an external existence so that I can communicate with it, although I cannot physically demonstrate it. Now, when it comes to nature or instinct, this kind of made up concepts, instinct, where somebody may say, I am communicating with the instinct, but it is a reduction because it gives the existence to it, to the matter, if you like. No, it gives the existence to the nature of the matter itself. But when I examine the nature of the matter, I see no power to give existence to a to meaning, to instinct. Like the Quran says, God has never given birth to anything. It means in whatever He has created in this world, He has not given any divine quality in the nature of that thing. This is what the Quran says. But our experience also, there is no evidence. But when I read the Quran, or a book, I communicate with the meaning, but I am attributing the meaning to the author of the Quran, not the nature of the paper. Do you see the difference? Now, if someone says, cat acts in this way because of the creator has given it the quality to act in this way, and he may use this uh, secular terminology, instinct, what with the intention not deny the actor, the creator, the source of the existence of the quality in the cat. So he's saved. This person is saved. But if one says the instinct belongs to the cat, then it will have the same problem as I am going to make a demonstration here now. I read the book and said, I got the meaning. Yes, this meaning is driven from the pages. It means source of existence of this meaning is the paper. Then it is not inspiration, it is satanic whispering. Why? Because the paper has no quality, but by definition, the concluded assumption of the creator as a result of the paper cannot be the source of the meaning that I interact with. So this book must have an external author, external to the book. So this external author is my concluded idea or understanding. So by definition, I am saying the paper cannot be the source of existence of the meaning that I interact with, I communicate with. But there must be an author, by definition. This is this accepted or rationally confirmed existence of the author becomes a reality and the point of reference for me. It means this book has an author, and author must have a knowledge, and he reflected his knowledge in this book. That is my rational conclusion. So if someone asks, okay, demonstrate the meaning, I say no, because I am not saying that the meaning is coming from the paper or in the form of a physical existence. Meaning is the quality manifested on it in the book, the quality of the author of the book manifested in it. That is manifestation. So I cannot demonstrate the manifestation, but I can experience it. The Satan comes there, if you like. It's a symbolic teaching again, imitating the Quranic literature. So the Satan comes here and say, no, instinct also cannot be demonstrable. Why do you ask me to demonstrate it? I say, yes, but by your own definition, instinct belongs to the cat itself. So cat consists of atoms. Show me the quality of the instinct, whatever you call it, responding back, communicating with human beings, etc. This in the atomic structure of the cat. Now they say, it is cat's nature. Again, run into another whispering, satanic whispering. We can continue the same argument. Show me the nature which belongs to the matter itself, the existence of which belongs to the nature of the atom itself. So we have to be very careful in our own reasoning, and also it must become a kind of reflection in us, reflection. Like while you are driving, you drive the car with your reflections, not just with your reason, unless there is a specific case. So this kind of reasoning must turn into a form of reflection, so that we can always communicate with the universe without really getting engaged into a rational reasoning process, because it becomes a reflection for us. I mean, it becomes a habit of uh, thinking and communicating with the universe. That is why iman, belief in the heart, can only settle down after the rational activities turns into or becomes into a form of reflection. That is why certainty is important in Iman. Yaqeen is important in Iman. This certainty means you are living by it, and you are absolutely certain, sure about your conclusion. You keep communicating with the universe through this conclusion. That is called practical Iman, which is engaged with all human qualities, not only rational, intellectual activities, but also sensual, emotional activities, consciousness, conscience, etc. All these qualities get engaged with this reflection. Thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah, this was great. And yeah, so I think pretty much the whole gist is about how am I defining any quality that I experience in any object. Otherwise, it ends up being like an infinite regress where I say, oh, no, that's how it is. Oh, no, it's coming from its particle. And just trying to find the answers to any of these questions within the universe would lead one to an abyss, rather than, questioning really like where this quality is coming from. So I think the book analogy is always, mashallah, very useful in terms of the meaning. Is the meaning coming from the paper and ink? I mean, don't be ridiculous. It's definitely there's meaning, but how do I explain the existence of this meaning? That's, I think, what we need to use as our criteria. And yeah, that's the only, voracious exploration. Thank you. Is there any comment from anybody? Okay, let's I think alhamdulillah we're ready now to check in what the author is going to present us with the inspiration. Okay. So again, our traveler understood, then looked in the direction of inspiration and saw that veracious inspiration indeed resembles revelation in some respects and is a mode of dominical speech. There are, however, two differences. The first, revelation, which is much higher than inspiration, generally comes by the medium of the angels, whereas inspiration generally comes directly. Whoa. So too, a king has two modes of speech and command. The first consists of his sending to a governor a lieutenant equipped with all the pomp of monarchy and the splendor of sovereignty. Sometimes, in order to demonstrate the splendor of his sovereignty and the importance of his command, he may meet with the intermediary and then the decree will be issued. So let me just read this one again. So just like a king has two modes of speech and command, first consists of his sending to a governor, a lieutenant. So the governor is like a little under the lieutenant, equipped with all the pomp of monarchy and the splendor of sovereignty. Okay, so a lieutenant that's equipped with all the pomp of monarchy and the splendor of sovereignty. Sometimes, in order to demonstrate the splendor of his sovereignty and the importance of his command, he may meet with the intermediary, like the governor? No, the
Yeah,
lieutenant.
So, yeah. You can use a governor too.
And then, then the decree will be issued. Okay.
So like the example, the president can talk to the New York state governor and issue something that this is what the president wants to take care of. This needs to be done. So that's one option.
Okay.
And then the second way we'll talk about it, I think he was going to say that, there's small matters, he's not going to tell the, as a whole, like the administration wants this to be done. He's not going to say that, but to the individual needs of people, individual concerns, there can be a mode of communication via your feelings. That's what
Okay, alhamdulillah. I see Brother Ali, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, I'm really being too spoiled. I'm just asking for to speak and not letting anybody else express themselves. But I felt necessary from my aspect that the first paragraph that you read, our traveler understood it. No. The title, sorry, subtitle starts with the first. The first. There's something is interesting there, and we have to pay attention to it. What this paragraph says, inspiration and revelation, compares it. And it says, revelation is higher, whatever it is, why, we are going to discuss in the following paragraphs. But why the revelation and inspiration are put in the same category, but slightly different. What is the slight difference? One of them is through the medium of, by the medium of the angels. The other one is directly. Oh God, how exciting. I'm not a prophet. I'm not experiencing the Gabriel, this angel. In fact, we can talk about the Gabriel, what Gabriel represents in the Quran, as far as I understand. Now, the Gabriel, is speaking to the lieutenant as Asim gave the example, speaking to one of the ministers, IRS, who is responsible for IRS income and expenditure of the state budget. I don't know. The British English say that exchanger. But what do they call it? Something state? No, I don't know. Do you know the term? In the cabinet of the president, there are ministers.
Treasurer? I don't know.
Now, and is there any status of treasurer? Though, how do you call it? The treasurer of the state, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, let's call it in this way. Now, president decides that they love increasing the. Let me see. Somebody wrote something. Secretary of Treasurer. Okay, thank you very much. That's what I was looking for. Secretaries. Yeah. Okay. Secretary of Treasurer. So asks the Secretary of Treasurer, come on. I think I understand that we have to declare 1% increase in taxes. Okay, can you announce it? And the Secretary of Treasurer calls the media people and makes an, how do you say, what do they do? Press release or press conference, and announces that from now on in 2020, because let's seek refuge with Allah in 2022. Now, in 2020, is an example, the tax rates will increase 1%. This is what the president decided. People hear it, right? This is through the Secretary of State, but in fact, this wording is given by the president to the Secretary of Treasurer to pass this words verbal explanation to people. This is verbal explanation, universal declaration, as far as the state is concerned, or as far as our world, humankind is concerned. Universal declaration in verbal form. That is why this verbal form must be transformed by a spokesman, state spokesman, or I don't know, White House spokesman. These are, if you like, Gabriel example, of course. This is just an analogy. Gabriel is speaking now. Gabriel makes, spokesman of the White House declared 1% of increase in taxes next year. Now, this is verbal, whereas inspiration is not verbal. Directly, because of the absoluteness nature of the Creator, every moment in everything, this absolute Creator can communicate and communicate with the people directly, but by inspiring the meaning to the spirit, the soul. In rhetoric, they call it heart of his creatures, human beings. So this is a direct one, and because it is not verbal, it is only an abstract meaning, and limited within my capacity and according to the time and space of the interested area that I am dealing with is concerned. And very limited for me only, and not in verbal form, and directly inspiring. We say, it came to my mind. I said, why shouldn't I try this way? For example, we always experience this inspiration from our Creator, or in a general statement, if something comes to my mind, for example, I'm speaking now, in fact, without realizing if I am making meaningful sentences, according to what? What is the source of this? my cells, what is that? Can they? So we are, if you like, immersed, emerged. No, not emerged. What do you say? Immersed?
Immersed, you got it.
Yeah, immersed by inspiration throughout all our life. Even the dream is a kind of inspiration again, but not under control. But the other inspirations are under my control, apart from the dream. That's why you cannot trust dream, because your consciousness is not directly interacting with it. So it is just flu things, flu. So I don't take notice of the dreams, although dreams is created things, created whatever it is. Now, in the form of not physical form, but something. And also it may have a physical effect on my body. As for example, if I see an event and if I am frightened by it, what happens? My physical body reacts with it, but after the inspiration comes, my spirit communicates with my body. That's how I am created. For example, you don't see me now. I can show it if you like. While I'm speaking, my hands are moving by myself, as if you are just in front of me listening. As if you are seeing my hand movement, it's moving. It's really rather comic. so so look, my body is communicating under the leadership of my spirit, but my spirit receives the inspiration continuously. So Nursi uses this as an evidence that if there is a reality of inspiration that every individual being is experiencing continuously, he must realize that if this source, this inspiration cannot come out of my body, my atoms, then my creator is always in contact with me. How about my real human questions and inquiries? It must be answered with the way that I understand and think about it, reflect on it, when read it and again, or listen to it again and again. Now, why doesn't it speak to me in the form of verbal, in the verbal form, in a verbal form? Why shouldn't it? Because I am able to understand the verbal expressions. I am able to make the verbal expressions. So the one who created me with this capacity must also communicate with me in verbal form. So verbal forms are transferred to us in verbal form through a secretary of, if you like, how do you say, revelation. So this verbal form is carried by an angel or by an vehicle, whatever it is, to a person, and this person turns it into a physical form. Speech turns into a physical form, but the verbal explanations, meaning plus verbal form, are from the creator. Inspiration, meaning is from the creation. If I say, while I'm thinking about something, or how should I do this, etc., the idea came to my mind, which is just represented by a light bulb, and there's the light is how do you say, scattering around. Boom! It came to my mind, but I put it myself into a verbal form while I'm speaking to you. Whereas the prophets get the verbal form, the meaning, if you like, how do you say, put in the case of an in the shield or in the shell of the verbal form as well. So we receive the verbal form, it includes the meaning, but what I do, I decipher, I, if you like, interpret the verbal form, the meaning within the verbal form myself. It becomes my inspiration. Do you see what I mean? When I read the Quran, when I read a verse, and whatever the meaning I get is that inspiration for me. But it may be voracious one or just whisperings, depends on my how I use my free will. If I use my free will to choose non-existent things, then it becomes then satanic whisperings. But if I use my free will in order to make sure that it has a representative in the real world, at least in the form of a sign, and I can confirm it through the witnessing of the sign, then it is, I understand that this is voracious inspiration. So only the Quran itself is revelation. My understanding is pertaining to me according to my free will, whether satanic whisperings or voracious inspirations. We have to check, we have to be on the alarm, always on alert, inshallah. You see how I exploited your patience? Thank you. That's enough.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah, this was beautiful.
Thank you for that.
Yes, so Jazakallah khair for sharing these beautiful gems. And yeah, I mean, at this point, I really don't have the words to put in, but I'll just briefly summarize the part about inspiration versus revelation. So revelation is coming through like a medium, and the analogy was, I think, clear as well. And so the medium representing the angels, and versus inspiration is the creator of the universe speaking to me directly, but if and only if I'm able to recognize that I'm witnessing this speech of my creator. Otherwise, I can lose myself with false ideas in terms of, oh, it's just coming from matter, it's just coming from, that's how it is, that's nature. So, but I think the whole point here was inspiration is directly from the creator of the universe, and revelation comes to me through a medium, but both carries a meaning, and the meaning to anything is my interpretation of it. And yeah, I think we are made in a way where we keep receiving our spirit keeps receiving inspiration continuously. And yep, that's about it. I know it's we are at time, and so just checking in to see any comments from anyone on the chat. If not, then please keep your questions and comments for next time, because a lot was said, and inshallah we'll be looking forward to hearing more of your thoughts on this. Thank you all for coming in, really being here, sharing your thoughts, participating. That was amazing. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you're all knowledgeable, all wise. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. بحرمة سر سورة الفاتحة. Ameen. Inshallah, next week we will pick up from the second again, just to reiterate, or maybe we can start from the first as well. We'll recap and then move on to the second, inshallah. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Let me stop the recording.